Quick question. Who has not signed in? If you haven't signed in, go sign in. You signed in? You signed in, aren't you?
Yeah, she signed in.
Everybody else signed in? What?
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Barrett. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Barrett. Yeah, hello. Okay. Because it's Wednesday, and I know that you've just been waiting all week to hear the joke. Yes, okay. I'm sorry?
Let's go online first.
Go online first. You want the joke told online? It's really not that great of a joke tonight.
What?
Yeah. All right, ready?
Do I have to say welcome? Oh, I have to say welcome. All right. Good evening, youth group. Renewal Youth Group. Good evening, Instagram Live. We're so glad everyone could join us tonight. Instagram Live, just to make you a little jealous, we've already had pizza from the tavern. Thank you very much. And we ate it with our pinky up. So, there. All right, so we're going to start tonight with our joke of the week. I know you've been waiting with anticipation to hear the joke of the week. All right, here we go. There is a tray of cookies baking in the oven. One cookie turns to another and says, "Boy, it's hot in here." The other cookie says, "Holy cow, a talking cookie." I told you it wasn't that great of a joke this week. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our worship, with our worship. So, ladies, take it away.
Lord Jesus, thank you for this evening, bringing us together. We're going to finish this series called Anthem. It's about worship. And, worship, what we normally think of is just music, but it's a lot more than that. Open our hearts to hear that worship is more than music. Music is a beautiful piece of it, but that's just it. It's just a piece. Open our minds and let us hear your truth. In your name we pray. Amen. Thank you, ladies.
I love how they try to keep me tethered. I can't move anywhere. I can only go so far. I'm staying right in my lane. Right in my lane. But I do want to say congratulations to Apopka High School for graduating today. Awesome. And a big shout out to Lake Brantley High School for Monday graduating. That would be my boy. Our boy graduated on Monday, so
Senior, junior high.
Frost proof. Florida. Most of you don't know where that is, but that's okay. We had our niece graduate from Frostproof High School, junior, senior high school. That's how
Their high
small
school
they
is
are.
so small, they're
Yeah.
junior and high school is one school.
So that's middle school and high school all together.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Everybody's face is like, yeah. Okay. So, Miss Danielle, we have your letter over here. So we're so glad you could join us. I know you were running. You were running. So, yeah, we're going to finish our series today. Today's the last week for Anthem. Anthem. All right, let's get started. Let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with, where are you? Right? Where are you? Where are you? All right. So if we could have, perfect. Thank you. No, you're fine. Hey, we appreciate you.
You're doing like triple duty. It's totally cool.
Yeah, you got all kinds of things going on back there. All right. And so we're going to imagine that we're going on a hiking experience.
We're going to use our imagination.
Yeah. Look how beautiful that is. Oh my God. That's beautiful. Okay. So we're going to go on a hike to this beautiful location. All right? So what you're going to do, since we're going to use our imagination, you're going to actually close your eyes, and we're just going to give you some description, some information of things that's happening while we're on this hike in this beautiful location. And then we have questions for you.
Questions at the end. There's some questions during, but that's for you to think about.
Yeah, just think about all this. We'll tell you when you can answer. So eyes closed, picturing this on the back of your eyelids. Okay. So we're meeting at the church at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. How hard was it for you to get up? How early did you have to set your alarm to be ready?
So knowing we'd need to eat during the journey, what did you pack for lunch? Did you pack the food yourself? Or did a family member pack it for you? So you arrive at the church and see a few of your friends have already arrived as well. Who are you most happy to see? As we get loaded on the vans to depart, you notice someone new. Who do you think is going to invite this new person to come and sit with them? The hours-long drive goes well. Because we're tired, we mostly talk quietly. You think you even nodded off for a few more minutes of sleep. The hike was steep in sections, and it's almost 4 miles to the viewpoint. So as we're getting started, it was announced that one person forgot their lunch. So about 2/3 of the group made it all the way to the top. One leader stayed back with the group who didn't make it. All right, now you can open your eyes. Now here's some questions. That's going to be the participation part of the lesson. So if this was reality, if this is all that was really happening, how are you feeling about this journey?
Overwhelmed.
Took a long time. Overwhelmed. What else? Hold on.
Overall, feel good about it. Accomplished everything to the top.
So she accomplished because she was in the 2/3 that got to the top. Anyone else? All right. So we'll get you answering questions soon enough. Don't worry. Who were you most likely to walk with? I'm pretty sure it's answered by who they're sitting next to. B group? Yeah. I think we have a whole section over here, we have a whole section over there, that section right there, section over there.
That's who you guys would walk with?
All right. Out of the groups, who didn't make it to the top?
Yes. Faith says she didn't make it to the top. Anybody else didn't make it to the top?
Colby didn't make
Colby
it.
did.
His group over here.
So here's a very important question. This goes back to one of the things we said. Just a minute. This goes back to one of the things we said in while you had your eyes closed. Would you have interacted with the new person who showed up?
And we know Barrett did.
Okay, so how would you have interacted with that person? Introduced yourself, Jaden?
Introduce them to your friends as well and get them welcome in.
Introduce them to yourself, to your friends, get them involved in the group. Great. All right.
All right. So how did the one person who forgot their lunch eat?
I don't know. I don't know if they heard that question. I don't know if they heard that question.
All right, so, this is nice. Use my big voice. All right, so the person who forgot their lunch, how did they eat? All right, hold on. Nick? All right, Allie? You share?
Random berries down the trail.
Random berries down the trail?
Yes,
Because she didn't make it to the top?
Because you didn't make it to the top, so you may as well just give them lunch.
What was that?
Pine cones.
Pine cones?
We need pine cones. Oh my gosh.
All right, so I know who to
Thank
keep
you,
them.
Allie, for sharing your lunch with them so they didn't have to eat pine cones.
Or random berries and end up like Hunger Games and die.
Right. So, some of us, I'm not saying who, would have been motivated to get to the top
First.
Motivated to get to the top first.
Sorry, Destiny, I'd have left you behind.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Hang on, Elijah wants to say something. Hang on.
Nope? Okay.
So he'd want to get to the top first. But that experience, trying to get to the top first, probably would have come at the expense of missing all of the fun of the people that were walking slowly up. All of the joking, all of the laughing, because you're so busy trying to get to the top first, you would have forgotten about that stuff was going on.
Well, I'd have been talking and laughing with the people with me.
And you wouldn't have been able to share your lunch. Just saying.
I probably would have been the one that forgot my lunch. Anyway.
You probably would have been the one who forgot his lunch, yes.
I'd been eating pine cones
Pine
and random
cones.
berries.
Yes. All right. Since the experience only happened in our imaginations, now let's talk about something that's happened in your life. It's kind of related to that. So this is a question for you. When have you felt most like part of a group? When have you felt most included in part of a group?
They're holding hands and they said right now.
Right now, these girls here. Hang on. Faith? Birthday and holidays. I think Samina probably has a good group that she's involved in. When you feel included, you and Allie feel included. Cheer. Thank you. God bless you. No? No? No. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else have some time when you felt really involved in a group, part of a group? I'm sorry? Lunch and PE. Awesome. Sports.
ROTC.
ROTC. I saw your picture. Awesome.
That was nice.
All right. So let's kind of flip that a little bit. Okay, we talked about being involved. Let's kind of flip it a little bit. Have you ever felt excluded from a group? Mary? Automatically, yes. Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. Anybody else ever been excluded from a group? Yeah. Yeah, it's no fun. Right. It does not feel good to be excluded, right? When everybody's doing something and they're just having fun and you're just kind of sitting there.
Have you ever been walking like down a sidewalk and you're the odd person and you can't walk in line with everyone, so you're walking behind? That's me. I'm never in that line. I'm always the one walking behind, trying to stay in the conversation.
So it's never fun. It's never fun to feel excluded from a group. But when we do feel like we're part of a larger group, when we're part of that group or community or a team, a sports team, it can be pretty fun. Because I remember, because I still have my memory of when I was in high school, and I was way back in the day. I was actually a flag twirler, and so I was part of the band, and that was a huge thing.
Right,
I'm just sharing my
guys.
experiences. I'm up here sharing my experiences, so kind of need some attention. Thank you. So I was in the band, which was kind of fun, actually. You get to go to the football games, and you're doing all the chanting. The cheerleaders are there. You're chanting with the cheerleaders. You're throwing cheers across the field to the other band, and they're cheering back to you, going back and forth. It's a great time. That's when you feel included in a group, right? I also remember the summer before my senior year of high school, I volunteered at the Louisiana Lions Camp for Crippled Children. And the one thing they told me is that for every lunch, they had a list of songs and chants that they could sing during lunch. And so it was just up to one person to get it started. And one person would get it started. Everybody's beating on the tables. Everybody's singing the same song. Everybody's chanting. It was the best time because it was fun. You were included. Everybody was doing it. It was awesome. Went to the Journey concert. This was just a few years ago. And they're playing songs. This whole stadium is singing Don't Stop Believing. It was amazing. And you just got chills, because it was just so much fun. That's being part of the group, right?
I worked at Home Depot. That was my first official job after high school. And I worked there for 3 years. And we opened a new building literally next door to the building we were in. And the new building butted up to another hardware store that used to exist called Scotty's. Now, Scotty's was the thing before Home Depot was really picking up. So when we built our new building, they gathered all the people that were like installing all the racking, we were running all the forklifts, getting everything all set up inside the building itself. And we went up to the fence and we were doing cheers over the fence at the Scotty's employees to make them feel bad about themselves.
That's not good. No, that was not a good example.
Okay.
That was not a good example.
How about this one? So I took Miss Paula 6 years ago to Lambeau Field. And I don't watch football. I don't watch sports because they annoy me. Because I'm like, you guys are super overpaid and you're being babies. And it annoys me. Totally being babies. Watch soccer. You know what I'm talking about. So,
positive example.
So we go to Lambeau Field because that was on her bucket list, something she wanted to do. And we got there the first day and got to the airport. The smallest car they had, this thing was like midget sized. We put our suitcases in the back. We didn't think it was going to fit because the car was that small. It was hilarious. So we go to check into our hotel. It's too early, so we go over to the field, and they have tours at the field. So I'm like, all right, so we're going to do like a champion tour. Like
we had to do the biggest package. And one of the things they do, besides walking around, they take you underneath the giant screen, which is huge. You don't realize how big that is. But they took us down to the boxes, to the sky boxes, and walked us out, a few rows out. And they had us do the Lambeau cheer. The Packer cheer. See,
That's how much I know. So there was what, maybe 20 of us at the most in this group, and there's nobody else in the stadium. So a football stadium, NFL football stadium, huge stadium, and they have us do the cheer. So we did this cheer, go Pack, go, and it echoed back and forth. It was the coolest thing ever.
I cried. It was
She
so
totally
amazing.
did. She totally did. You weren't allowed to take video. I took video. But it was really neat. There was maybe 20 of us in an entire football stadium. In fact, there was a tractor like doing something down, and you couldn't even hear the tractor. That's how big this thing is. And we did this cheer, and you can just hear that go Pack, go, just echoing back and forth. It was the coolest thing.
It really was. So it's a pretty powerful feeling to be part of that, to be part of a community, to be part of a team, to be a part of a group that's doing something like that. Being part of the team and allowing your voice to join in with a chorus of like-minded people brings power to the words you're speaking. Just like go, Pack, go. Worship can be the same thing. There's something about singing together that unites us and amplifies our voices and the words that we're singing or speaking.
So for the last few weeks, we've talked about worshiping God in several areas of life, and not just through music. So today we're going to see there's something really important about worshiping together and why community makes a difference. All right, so we are going to go ahead and break for our first small group discussion. So check your labels, find out which group you belong to. Leaders hold up. So we have D over here. What you got, Barrett? Barrett, B. B for Barrett. C for Jesse. Miss Danielle has A. Find your group. If you were not assigned a group, we will get you into one.
Okay, we've got A, B, C is with Jesse, D is with Destiny.
D for Barrett. Yeah, D for Destiny, B for Barrett, C for Jesse.
A for Danielle.
All right, so here are questions. Settle down.
All right, thank you guys for moving so quickly. Here are your questions for your small group. We've got.
All right. What's something fun you love to do with your friends but would hate to do alone?
And when have you most felt like part of a group?
And finally, third question, do you think our church feels like a family? Why or why not? So, those are your questions, so begin discussion.
All right. If we could have everybody's attention back up here, please. I know there's a lot of really good discussion going on. So we'll get everyone's attention up here, please. Thank you. So by raising your hands, actually, how many of you guys watched the 1-minute sermon on Instagram? Allie did. Thank you, Allie.
Allie gets extra credit.
That's still too long.
Anybody else watch the video?
Here, have some Skittles.
Oh my gosh.
I watched it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and kind of just report out in general. We'll ask the question. What's something fun you love to do with your friends but would hate to do alone? What? Sleep. School. Anything else?
Hold on. Play sports.
That would be kind of hard to play sports without your friends. Yep.
We said Nerf wars.
Nerf war.
And then we were like, well, yeah, it's Nerf suicide. That's what that was about.
Yeah, that's what it would be.
There you go.
Miss Mary?
Good job.
I do not like painting my nails by myself.
Yeah, awesome.
Anyone else?
So the second question you had to discuss was, when have you most felt like part of a group? Right here.
When I went to regionals for RTC.
Regionals for
ROTC.
ROTC. Oh. How about back here? Anybody had something they want to share?
What was some of you guys' For me, it was when I was in Brazil.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
Italy.
Italy.
Oh, nice.
Nice. How about over here?
I went on a mission trip with my wife and a bunch of people in church. Crazy cool as a group, but it can be on, I don't know, alone, that'd be different.
It would have been very different, right?
Yeah.
Back here. You said
Youth group.
I think he liked to pay his
Are you aiming for extra credit? This is good.
And then the last question that you had, do you think our church feels like a family? Jaden.
Okay, I wouldn't be honest.
She's the, oh Lord, here we go.
All right, we're going to keep the volume down so Judy doesn't hear this one. Go.
Okay, go ahead, honesty.
Get me out of here.
Bella.
Huh? I feel like coming from me to go to Sunday church, I feel like Sunday church feels more like a family than I feel like youth group does.
Okay.
I feel like youth group in general is more divided between people and groups. Because I don't connect with everyone that's here because I've never personally spoken to them because they're taking their own little groups. I don't feel much as a family. They're a youth group than I feel they're in our actual Sunday church. No.
Okay, we appreciate the honesty.
All right, so did you guys hear that? So she doesn't feel like, she feels like Sunday service is more like a family, but youth group is not. And the reason with youth group is everyone's in their own little groups and they only talk with their little group. They don't talk with anyone else.
That's why the letters are so important.
That's the exact reason we use the letters to break up the groups, to get everyone so you at least hear from other people. But that is totally valid. And that was awesome that you answered that.
Yeah. Anybody else? Do you feel like our church feels like a family? Any other answers anyone wants to share?
Or doesn't feel
I
like
would like to
it.
address that, because I think if there's one thing, the cliquish aspect, like school and things of that nature, and all people that hang out and do the same things that everybody else in their group does, this should feel anything but like that. So if we're not hitting that, we need to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, definitely work.
That's something to work on, guys.
For sure. Anything else, Danielle?
I want to say, that's the only question that I come in on with the team, because I'm the newest adult, I think, that's in here, and the same thing I said to them, I do feel like it's a family, I really do. I understand where she's coming from too, but it's just something that we have to accept that and do better, you know?
Right. Yes.
So if we do,
Adults totally do this.
right, so
Adults
we
totally do
acknowledge
this.
that it's not just you, it's adults as well. You know, we can
Right.
get this too. You know, so I do feel like it's a family. I really do.
Yeah.
Feel
And
the group
just-
hug.
And group hug coming on real fast.
It's
So,
coming. It's coming.
just a little clarification as far as the, kids being in certain groups and hanging around with each other because they're familiar with each other and not venturing out to talk to someone they don't know. That's not something that we're going to be able to fix as adults. That's kind of got to be on you guys. Just saying. I mean, we can set it up. We can do the letters, split you up in groups. We can set that up, but it's up to you to accept that and to participate in that. All right.
Man, that was an awesome discussion point.
Good job.
There you go, Jake. We're not again.
It's not empty, is it?
No.
Okay. All right.
I might be half eaten. But
So We are talking about the Anthem series, the last lesson of the Anthem series, and talking about worshiping in a community. And it just hit me so hard that Sunday during worship, there's this one song, I don't care who sings it, when it's sung, Bella, but it is going to make me cry every single time. And it is The Blessing. And they sang it, the worship team did it on Sunday, and I'm standing back there just bawling, and luckily someone, I was looking around because it doesn't matter wherever I come into church, it doesn't matter where I stand, it's always where there aren't any Kleenex. There aren't any Kleenex. So I'm crying, I'm looking around for Kleenex, and there's none, and then finally I feel somebody come and hug me, and it's Dion, and she says, here, she's got a box of Kleenex for me, thank you. But that's when I felt so connected to that song and so connected to the worship team and to the church. And it was just so powerful that feeling, I couldn't hide it, I couldn't control it. And so that was my, really feeling part of that. So that's just me.
Would you like to sing that for us?
Yeah, if you
That's the one.
the generation.
The generation.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
Gets me every time right there.
So there's some things you probably wouldn't want to do alone. Not because you couldn't, but because they would be way more fun to do with other people. Like going to an amusement park, or to a concert, or out to dinner, or on vacation. Or even watching a funny movie is better when you're surrounded by other people.
It is better. And so worship is kind of like that too. So you should worship by yourself through prayer or however you choose to worship, by serving others. But you also should be worshiping in a group. Worship can be through song, prayer, serving others, and there's so many ways that you can worship God by yourself. But there is something really, really important about coming together as a group, worshiping with that group while you're surrounded by God's people. It's something special.
So in the Bible, the book of Psalms is filled with songs. It's always hard for me to catch up with those. Psalms and songs, specifically written to be sung by a whole community of people worshiping God together.
Psalm 66 is a prayer for every nation in the world to know God, to follow God, and to hear what God has done for the world.
So Psalm 66, 1 through 20. Shout for joy to God, all the earth. Sing the glory of his name. Give to him glorious praise. Say to God, how awesome are your deeds. So great is your power that your enemies come cringing to you. All the earth worships you and sings praises to you. They sing praises to your name. Selah. Come and see what God has done. He is awesome in his deeds towards the children of man. He turned the sea into dry land. They passed through the river on foot. That's talking about Moses. There did we rejoice in him who rules by his might forever. Those who keep watch on the nations. Let not the rebellious exalt themselves. Selah. Bless our God. O peoples, let the sound of his praise be heard, who has kept our soul among the living and has not let our feet slip. For you, O God, have tested us. You have tried us as silver is tried. You brought us into the net. You laid a crushing burden on our backs. You let men ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water. Yet you have brought us out to a place of abundance. I will come into your house with burnt offerings. I will perform my vows to you, that which my lips uttered and my mouth promised when I was in trouble. I will offer to you burnt offerings of fattened animals, and with the smoke of the sacrifice of rams, I will make an offering of bulls and goats. Come and hear, all you who fear God, and I will tell what he has done for my soul. I cried to him with my mouth, and high praise was on my tongue. If I had cherished iniquity in my heart, the Lord would not have listened. But truly God has listened. He has attended to the voice of my prayer. Blessed be God, because he has not rejected my prayer or removed his steadfast love from me.
So that's a lot. But in this psalm, the psalmist is doing a few things. He is calling everyone and everything on earth to praise God, the Creator. That's one thing that's happening in that psalm. He's also remembers and reminds the people that everything that God has done. Time and time again, people were tested or suffered, but God was always with them throughout it all. And that's one thing that they're reminding everyone about. He remembers a time of lament when they cried out to God and God heard their prayers. And y'all know I wanted to say lament. I wanted to, but that was good. Lament. And he also ends the psalm with more praise because of who God is and what God has done. So that's just kind of like a summary of that psalm. And all throughout this psalm, the psalmist is saying, come and hear. Let me tell you what God has done. He's not keeping these praises to himself. He's sharing his story and praises so the whole community can experience the blessings of God.
But the Psalms isn't the only book of the Bible where we see communities of believers worshiping God together. In the New Testament, we see followers of Jesus coming together to worship and experiencing something miraculous in the process.
So we have Acts chapter 2, verses 1 through 13.
Ooh, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
All right, when the day of Pentecost arrived, they were all together in one place. And suddenly there came from heaven a sound like a mighty rushing wind, and it filled the entire house where they were sitting. And divided tongues as of fire appeared to them and rested on each one of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. Now there were dwelling in Jerusalem Jews, devout men from every nation under heaven. And at this sound the multitude came together, and they were bewildered, because each one was hearing them speak in his own language. Now that's actually talking about the disciples. So tongues of fire came on them. They were actually able to speak other languages without trying. They just spoke it. And as people heard them, they heard them in their own language. I don't know if you've ever heard of a babblefish. That's sort of what that's like. So they were amazed and astonished, saying, are not all these who are speaking Galileans? And how is it that we hear, each of us in his own native language? Parthians and Medes and Elamites and residents of Mesopotamia, Judea, Cappadocia, Pontus, and Asia. Oh, they're killing me with these. Phrygia, thank you. Pamphylia, Egypt, and parts of Libya belonging to Cyrene, and visitors from Rome, both Jews and proselytes, Cretans and Arabians. We hear them telling in our own tongues the mighty works of God. And all were amazed and perplexed, saying to one another, what does this mean? But others, mocking, said, they are filled with new wine. They're drunk.
And then Acts chapter 2, 42 through 47.
So when they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and fellowship, to the breaking of bread and prayers, and awe came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. We're talking about miracles. And all those who believed were together and had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings buildings and distributing the proceeds to all, as any had need. And day by day, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved.
So again, that was a lot, but just if you were listening as Mr. King was talking about the Holy Spirit descending upon the disciples, imagine what it must have been like to witness that, because you're seeing these disciples talking in all different types of languages. So just imagine like the room erupting into a wildfire of languages and songs and dances, and people thought they were drunk. It was that much. They thought they were drunk. Imagine these same people being so filled with God's Spirit that they began to share their stuff with each other. They just started giving it away. It didn't matter if they were rich or poor. Everyone suddenly had everything that they needed. And then imagine the Jesus followers spending multiple days praising and worshiping in the temple together in such a powerful way that crowds came in and joined them in this praise.
So living and worshiping as a community was a hallmark of the early church. These early Jesus followers were known for their love for one another and their community. As the church began to spread throughout the world, fellowship, prayer, teaching, and worship became the foundation of their faith communities.
And as the church grew and faith leaders like the Apostle Paul began to write letters to these local communities with instructions and encouragement and reminders and sometimes help, things they needed as they learned how to follow Jesus together as part of a community. Many of the letters are preserved in the Bible, so including one of Paul's letters to the church of Colossus, which is now the book of Colossians. I had it for a moment, but it went away. So from Colossians chapter 3, verse 16.
Let the message about Christ and all its richness fill your lives. Teach and counsel each other with all the wisdom he gives. Sing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs to God with thankful hearts.
So out of this, you can kind of gather just how important Paul thought worshiping as a community, worshiping together was, because that's what that is referencing, being together as a church and worshiping.
So has anyone seen the movie Yesterday? Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Possibly 3.
Maybe 3. All right. We have the trailer for the movie Yesterday. It's about the Beatles.
So we're going to go ahead and watch that.
Okay, so now we got some more people. All right, so
this was my last gig. If it hasn't happened by now, it's like a miracle. Miracles happen. What happened?
Electricity flicked off all over the world.
Yesterday, Ellie bought you a present. All my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday.
Why did you write that?
I didn't write it. Paul McCartney wrote it. The Beatles.
Who?
John, Paul, George and Ringo, the Beatles.
No. Stop it.
Yesterday. It's one of the greatest songs ever written.
Ah, it's not Coldplay. It's not Fix You.
Do you genuinely not know who the Beatles are?
Genuinely.
But I'm in a really, really, really complicated situation. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. Sorry, I'm just listening to Jack's new song.
What's this one called?
Leave it be.
Let it be. Well, rock on, Jack. Oh, yeah. Tell you something.
Oh, we should talk. See, we pay and you write songs, and then we make a ton of money, and then we take most of it.
The one, the only Jack Money! We would like him to write something right now.
Something in the way she moves.
No one's ever written this many great songs. How'd you do it?
Attracts me like no other lover.
Sometimes it feels like someone else is getting all the songs.
Hey Jude.
I've written half my life for you to wake up and love me, but I'm a school teacher, and you are the world's greatest singer-songwriter.
I'm not.
Except for you are.
It's going to be the greatest album of all time.
I've got two men who claim that the songs are theirs. Let's see how this plays out, shall we?
It's hallucinating.
Please make some noise for Mr. Jack Mullet!
Let me just give you this advice. Song title. Hey Dude.
Hey dude, are you sure?
Hey, dude.
It's so much better.
All right, so in that movie, a young musician named Jack wakes up after an accident and is the only person alive who remembers the Beatles. And I know that you guys don't remember the Beatles.
All right, did any of those songs sound familiar?
Strawberry Fields Forever. Okay.
All right.
So at first, Jack can't believe his luck. He becomes famous for writing and performing the Beatles songs, incredible songs.
But can you imagine this? Think about your favorite band, book, or movie, the one that has left the biggest impression on you. Can you imagine waking up one day and being the only person that remembers it? How would it feel if no one else in the world could remember or understand the powerful meaning or beauty you found in your favorite song or book? What if there was no one who could share that beauty with you?
All right, so here's a little spoiler alert.
Oh, wait. Let's ask. You guys okay with a spoiler?
Well, good, because you're going to get it anyway.
Yeah, you're getting it.
So, in the movie, Jack eventually finds out that he's not the only one who remembers the Beatles. But those people that come to him are not mad. They're not upset with him. They're just happy that somebody is actually putting that music out there. So they were glad that he was doing what he was doing. So like Jack and the Beatles, it's so important to have that community of people who remember and share the love for the language and stories of God. According to scripture and tradition, experience, and even science, when we worship God together, we are reminded of the ways God has been faithful and good to each of us in different ways.
Our trust in God grows deeper.
And when we worship together, we actually see, science has proven this, decreases in anxiety and stress.
When we worship together, our heart rates even sometimes synchronize.
Which would be so cool if we could track that, right? Like everybody's heartbeat beating the same.
You know, they say if you hug someone for like 30 seconds, your heartbeats start to sync. They actually start, they
We're
start
not going to
matching
try
up.
that out.
We're not going to try that. But it's still cool.
Yeah. And when we worship together, we feel more like members of a larger and bigger community. We worship together not just because it's tradition or because the Bible tells us to do it. We actually worship together because it connects us. It makes us feel like we're family. We worship together because it reminds us that we're not alone. And we worship together because we are God's family.
All right, so we have another small group discussion. First question, what kind of impact do you think worshiping as a community can have on someone's faith? Not that faith, faith in general. Second question, what do you think are the benefits of worshiping God alone? What are the benefits of worshiping in community? It's a little deeper questions. Have at it.
All right, if I can have everybody's attention back up here, please. I hate to interrupt you because I know there's a lot of really good discussion going on. But we are going to need to move on. So I appreciate you guys being so willing to discuss in your small groups and then bring it back up to the front. I appreciate that. So over the last few weeks, we've talked about several kinds of psalms and the different ways they're used to worship God. So we've talked about the psalms about creation and how God is reflected through the incredible things that he has made.
There were psalms of remembrance where God's incredible deeds were celebrated, especially after times of difficulty.
And there are psalms of lament, expressing that grief or anger over the many things that went wrong in the world or in our lives.
And there were psalms of celebration designed to be sung by a community of believers giving praise for who God is.
So as we've said many times throughout this series, worship doesn't mean just singing. And don't worry about that. We're just skipping through that. Because you guys are at the advanced group. You don't even need that. The advanced group. So worshiping doesn't mean just singing, although singing really is a great way to do worship. We can worship God on our own or with others when we observe God's creation through nature. When we do that together.
When we enjoy the beauty of God reflected in art, music, dance, words, or anything else that's beautiful together.
And we can engage in spiritual practices like our prayer, church service, or fasting. We can do all of that together.
Sitting in silence through meditation, listening, simplicity, and silent prayer together. Sort of like our little exercise earlier.
And we can worship when we're fighting for righteousness and justice, by when we speak out, when we demonstrate, educating and praying and confronting injustices and evil in the world, when we can do that together.
So we can worship God on our own, or together we can do it by caring for others, by giving, serving, mentoring, helping, or volunteering.
And we do it when celebrating God through music. We celebrate God through shared meals, through laughter and having fun in our community. And we can also do that all together.
Learning to focus on God through prayer, retreats, summer camp, and contemplation together.
And learning more about who God is through Bible study, memorizing scripture, and challenging conversations. Not being afraid to voice your commitment to God.
And by sharing our stories of faith, both with people who share our beliefs and people who don't yet know Jesus.
All right, so the next thing we have is, it's supposed to be small group instruction, but we're going to do the first question all together. We're just going to discuss the first question. So that first question is, There are a lot of different ways to worship God. We just went over them, looking at nature, conversations, all that kind of stuff. Which one is your favorite way to worship God? Music. Reading Bible. Anyone else? I heard something over here. Praying. Conversations. Being quiet and being still so you can hear God. I'm sorry? Spending time with Him. Very important. Very important. Serving is one. It's a huge one. Volunteering is a huge one. Helping others. Those are all different ways that you can worship. Good job. So here's something for you to think about. This isn't one you're going to answer out loud. This is one I want you to think about. So this week, what's one way you can be more intentional about worshiping God with others? So I want you to just think about that. That's for you to take away and think about for this week. Okay? So there are so many ways to worship God together. And one of the best parts is trying to find them out so you can discover your best way to connect with God. From the book of Psalms to the early church to present day, God's people have always come together to worship in a community, and for good reason. So how will you help continue that tradition today? It's okay. Because remember, we worship together because we're God's family.
Oh, you tell her, hey, put down here. I need a mic.
Lord Jesus, thank you for your word. Thank you for showing us that community is important when we worship. That there are things we can do alone, and there's some things that we should do with others. Help us to reach out to people outside of our group and fold them into worship with us. It doesn't have to be singing. It doesn't have to be praying. It could just be sitting around and just being there. Open our hearts. Help us remember. In your name we pray. Amen. Thank you, ladies. All right, so we have some announcements. Just a couple. As of this morning, there are still just 4 seats left for summer camp. So if you're interested in going, our weeks are July 26th through 30th. We've gotten some more information on it, and it's going to be the next slide. Yes, sir.
You guys have been freaking out about how little seats are left, but they've only been going down like 2 every week.
I know, but once they're gone, they're gone. So what I'm saying is if you want to go and you haven't registered, and then all of a sudden they go because I mention it, and then you're like, but I want to go, we might have problems.
Are you sure that everyone that wants to go is registered already?
I don't know. There was a couple people that said they wanted to go, told me they wanted to go, but they haven't signed up yet. So that's just a little reminder. All right, so that's just a reminder there. 4 seats left, that's it. Now, next slide. We are planning another fun Friday. All right, so it will be here. Now, this one is a twofold thing. So you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff up there. We've got Fun Friday, and it's a summer camp meeting. This will be a parents, leader, and youth meeting. This isn't going to give all the details of camp, but it's going to give a lot of details of camp. Okay? Now, here's one of the major pieces of it if you are going to camp, especially those online that didn't make it. We're going to be talking about some general camp information. We'll be getting more as we get closer, but we just wanted to give everyone a heads up. We have to do waivers. Ms. Judy will be here to notarize waivers, so it's not just I'm going to camp. You have to get paper signed by parents, by youth, and notarized by Miss Judy, so that's very important. And then one last piece that's as important, if not more important, is we have to do an online, if you can, thank you. Yeah, we have to do an online summer camp activity registration. All right, so there's like 8 things they're doing. There's kayaking, there's swamp buggies, there's swimming. Swamp buggies sound totally awesome. There's there's like 8 activities. If you are interested in either learning a guitar or you want to get better at it, they have guitar classes. They have different arts and crafts. They have a makeup session for ladies. Yeah, I mean, they've got all kinds of different activities. So what you'll do when you do the sign up is each of the main days. So Monday, we leave. Here's some bus information. I can give it to you. The bus is going to get here around 8 o'clock in the morning. All right? I need people ever paying attention. If you're not going, be quiet for those that are going. Bus is going to get here around 8 o'clock in the morning. The bus will leave around 9 o'clock in the morning. So if you want to go to camp, you better be on the bus. We will stop for lunch. You will have to bring money for lunch. I'm just giving this as a heads up, but we're going to go over all this in more detail during this meeting. We'll get up there Monday, so really Monday's a travel day. Friday we'll have our morning service. We'll stay and eat lunch at camp, and then we'll drive straight back. So we'll be back for dinner time with your family. All right. So the activity days are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those are the days that you need to pick your activities. You can't pick the same thing. So you can't pick kayaking 3 days in a row. You have to pick a different activity for each day. And then you pick a spare activity in case the class is full or something like that. All right? So we'll go through all of that, but I want to drive how important this is if you're going to camp, because this is going to dictate what you get to do. Your parents have to come.
They're not staying for Fun Friday. They're just staying to get the forms
Get the meeting.
filled out. And
Forms filled out. As we finish with you guys, you can come in here, have fun with Fun Friday, all that fun stuff.
Unless they wanted to play wacky.
Yeah. All right. So again, summer camp. This is going to be a real important meeting. We're going to have information on when the rest of your money is due. If you need sponsorship help, whether it be a partial amount or a full amount, we need to make sure we know about it. We did our fundraiser, and that is helping those that need help, or getting those there that need to get there. So we need to know that information, because we got to gather up all those numbers and everything and get that taken care of for everybody. All right? So any quick questions from anybody? No? All right. So we'll have more information. We will get this announcement out on Sundays for try and get to all the parents and let everyone know that this is that have to be there. Got to do it. Got to get the stuff signed. And I believe that's it. Ooh, Miss Paula has an announcement.
Mr. Ken and I got a new puppy, so if you want to see pictures, come and see me.
His name is Buck.
His whole name is Buckley Preston Frazier. All right. Thank you, youth. Thank you, Instagram Live. See you next Wednesday. Thank you.